From the beginning of recorded history, mankind has gained wealth and power through independence, either by building it for ourselves, taking it from others, or finding it in the ground. But at times, in an open market, this independence, if not managed sustainably, can cause the system to fail. As we get greedy, extrapolate the past, and get complacent. Today we're at a time that is analogous to the 2008 credit crisis, when easy money was given to people who didn't have the credit profile to qualify for loans. Except now, it is large corporations who have had access to easy credit at levels which were inappropriate for their fundamentals. COVID-19 has dealt a crippling blow to these already highly leveraged firms, as consumer spending power has stymied, leaving devastating income holes in the balance sheets of these companies. Think of it this way: every person, company, or country has a certain amount of income, a certain amount of expenses, and a certain amount of savings. In accounting, we plot these factors on a balance sheet, detailing the balance of income and expenditure over a period of time. The Great Lockdown has adversely impacted these balance sheets, as incomes have been decimated while debts remain the same. To remedy the situation, central banks and governments around the world have attempted to fill income deficits by producing money and credit through quantitative easing. But with the global collapse of incomes estimated to be in the region of $20 trillion, there's only so much money to go around, and only a few countries or regions can print enough money to fill their deficits. And since one country's debts are another's assets, defaulting on debts or deficits reduces another country's assets, which requires them to cut their spending, and a self-reinforcing downward debt and economic contraction ensues. This is a defining moment in human history. At the end of the First World War and the Spanish flu, the world made the mistake of not adequately healing the wounds fostered by war, or generating the multilateral common purpose needed to move forward together. This was a mistake that fueled populism in Germany, anguish from the rest of Europe, and 15 years later led to the Second World War. If, at this moment, we do not come together and share the reciprocal obligations needed to rebuild society, we run the danger of revisiting the mistakes of the past. As we re-engineer globalization to cost-effectively increase both the size of the pie and divide it well, complicated questions like who will help who, how will we be with one another, and what will these new relationships mean need to be answered, as one country's downfall is another's opportunity. As the flow of money and wealth is redistributed to improve, amongst other things, our healthcare system, our social systems, and our investment in biodiversity and the environment, and the fallout of the Great Lockdown and the forces of automation in this fourth industrial revolution flatten our organizations, reduce coordination and logistic burdens, and move decision-making to machines, it is important to remember that inventiveness, productivity, and creativity are really what raise our living standards and will ultimately remedy the economic impact of the pandemic. Whilst the right investments in property, equities, and commodities will generate wealth, over the last 500 years, the most important force in our economy and for generating wealth has been productivity, which comes from people learning and inventing. Our ability to learn to do things better raises our productivity and allows us to earn more so we can buy goods and services, as opposed to using debt and credit to spend more money than we actually earn today so we can spend less money than we actually earn tomorrow. This dependence on debt and credit has fueled much of the velocity and debt cycles we have experienced over the last 40 years. And whilst painful, the pandemic gives corporations, individuals, and government the opportunity to actively co-shape and co-create the system, laying the path for a more sustainable and inclusive economy, which raises our living standards and wealth with less volatility, as opposed to fixing things only when they go wrong.